finding the greatest common factor, and we were talking about finding that this morning. But one of the reasons why we were talking about that and finding the greatest common factor was because eventually you're going to come up with actually fractions that do not actually have the same denominator. And what you have to do is you have to change these fractions so that these fractions have the same denominator. You notice that the denominator here, 8, is different from the denominator here, 32, and the denominator here, 4. And you cannot add fractions unless they all have the same denominator. So one of the ways we do that is by getting a number that would be our greatest common factor. In this group of numbers here, in the list of between 8, 32, and 4, what would be the greatest common factor between those numbers? What do you say, Titus?
The greatest common factor would be 32.
32. It would be 32. So the greatest common factor are, and we call that common factor, GCF, would be 32 in this example here. So the greatest common factor would be 32. So what I need to do in this particular case is find out how can I make the 8 into a 32 and the 4 into a 32 so that they match one another. And one of the ways we know that do that is by using multiplication. So we use multiplication in order to do that. What we want to do is we want to multiply the 8 times the same number that it would take to make this into 32, and also multiply the 4 times a number that would make it into a 32 as well. But here's the thing: what number times 4? What number times 8? Rather, I'm giving away the answer. What number times 8 equals 32? Faith. 4. Okay, so we're going to multiply it times 4. Now, whenever we multiply this times 4, here's the problem: you can't multiply this times 4, this 8 times 4, without multiplying the numerator times 4 as well. Anything you do to the denominator, you have to do to the numerator as well. So we're going to multiply that times 4 as well. Down here, then, what number times 4 would equal 32? And obviously, it's what, Ray? 8. So I'm going to multiply this times 8 here. And so if I multiply the denominator times 8, I need to multiply the numerator times 8 as well. Now let's see what we get. We're going to rewrite this as it would appear if you were going to do the adding of it. Plus 5 over 32. We don't need to do anything to the 5 over 32. So we got 12 over 32 plus 5 over 32 plus 8 over what? 32. Now we have it in such a way that we can add all three fractions together and come out with a number that actually makes sense in terms of fraction, because they have the same common denominator now. Our greatest common factor is 32. 12 plus 5 is 17, isn't it? And 17 plus another 8 would be what? Faith? 35? 25. Okay, so we got 25 over 32. So it equals 25 over 32. And that would be your answer for that. How many got that? Good. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next one, and we're going to clear the board a little bit so we can see it real good. Let's take this as an example. Let's see what the greatest common factor what is the greatest common factor here between the 2, the 3, and the 6? Tyler. 6 is the greatest common factor. So if 6 is the greatest common factor, I'm going to need to do some multiplication in order to get the 2 and the 3 up to the 6. We obviously can multiply 2 times 3 and get 6. And if we do that, we're going to have to multiply the 1, 2. And then we obviously can multiply 2 times 3 or 3 times 2 and get 6. And if we do that there, we're going to have to multiply the numerator times the same number. We don't have to do anything to this 5 over 6 because it's already our greatest common factor, which is 6. So let's do that. 3 times 1 times 3 is 3, and 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, so we have our first fraction. 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 2 is 6. So we have our second fraction. And then 5 over 6. Bring our 5 over 6 over here. And just now, let's just put our plus sign and let's re-add them now. 3 plus 4 is, 7. And 7 plus 5 is what? Yes, Faith? 12. So we got 12 over 6. In this case, 12 over 6 can be reduced to, ask yourself the question, how many sixes are there in the number 12? Yes. 2. So 12 over 6 would be 2. And I hope that